cats are in a really weird mood today, so hopefully they don't make too much noise. They've been pretty noisy. I've had to start this video up a couple times because of just loud cat sounds in the background, which isn't exactly what I'm trying to send you guys. So, yeah, wish me luck. A Woman's Reaction to No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert A. Glover. Chapter 2, The Making of a Nice Guy. Glover spends the first half of the chapter talking about the family dynamics that nice guys grow up in. And he gives 3 different examples of nice guys who had very different families, but they still produced this kind of nice guy. And he was talking about the elements that they had in common, some of the things that seemed more likely to produce nice guys. But then, and that was all very interesting, but then after that he goes into the cultural, social dynamics that help to reinforce this nice guy personality. So outside of the family, beyond the family. And that was very interesting. And he starts with the baby boomer generation, right after World War II. But after years of working with countless men, I am convinced that a unique combination of social dynamics over the last 5 decades has produced a plethora of nice guys in historically unprecedented numbers. And he talks about the sexual revolution, women's liberation, the Vietnam War, just all sorts of different social things that kind of created this perfect storm of elements that helped to kind of make men more nice guy-like. And he goes into greater detail with them and kind of explains them out a little bit more. Men don't spend time with other men. They don't spend time with men growing up. And men spend much more time as they're growing up, as they're going through their formative years and trying to figure out how the world is put together. They spend that time with women. In general, the nice guys I have worked with do not report having a close bonded relationship with their fathers in childhood. There are so many things about being a present father in a child's life that are unbelievably valuable and terribly underestimated in our current social setting. Fathers are immensely, immensely valuable. And it's really very sad to me that our society doesn't recognize the value they contribute. You know, we've got this huge celebration of the single mother and look how hard she works and all this crap. And we don't celebrate fatherhood. We really don't. And it seems that when we do celebrate fatherhood, we're celebrating like stay-at-home dads and basically guys who are nice guys. We don't really have, we don't seem to have, as a society, particularly strong appreciation of male masculinity. You know, we have toxic masculinity, whatever the hell that means. But it just seems like everywhere I look, I don't see an appreciation of good fathering behaviors. And I don't see an appreciation or respect for the value that fathers contribute. And it's immense. Women inherited the de facto job of turning boys into men. Unfortunately, even the most well-meaning mothers are not equipped to teach their sons how to be men by themselves. This hasn't kept them from trying. And that makes sense. Like, it does make a lot of sense. Like, nice guys, like, being nice is such a feminine idea. Like, that's the idea of what a man should be that a woman comes up with when she doesn't understand what a man should be. So the kind of woman who does get a divorce, the kind of woman who does end up being a single mother, she kind of dreams up this idea of what a man ought to be, and then she feeds it to her kids, and it's not necessarily going to be a very healthy idea. The thing that's always very much interested me is the difference between women who are single moms and women who are widowed single moms. And I don't know if there's been any kind of research into that. I do know people who are the children of widowed parents. And in that particular set of circumstances, there were grandparents involved, there were aunts, there were uncles in particular. There were a lot of men in those kids' lives, and so it didn't really negatively affect them, but there were a lot of paternal figures to kind of compensate for the fact that the father had passed away. So, I always wondered about that. Radical feminism in the 60s and 70s projected an angry generalization about men. Some feminists claimed that men were the cause of all the problems in the world. Others asserted that men were merely an unnecessary nuisance. More than likely, the majority of women during this era did not feel this way about men. He's got so much good stuff in this chapter. I feel bad, not talking about all the other stuff in this chapter, but I wanted to talk about this part. Because I think that feminism is really the direct cause of black-pilled MGTOW thinking. And I know that there are a lot of MGTOW guys who have their heads screwed on straight. I'm talking about the ones who don't. I've seen too many young MGTOW kind of incel guys who are really angry and they blame women for all sorts of things, and they say things about women that are remarkably similar to the kinds of things that feminists say about men. And it's interesting to me because I think they're feminists. I think that they're basically just feminists with penises. There's so very little difference that I cannot tell a difference. Just flip the genders around and the statements become virtually identical. He even offers up some statements. Epithets like men are pigs and all men are rapists were prominent during this time. All women cheat. All women ride the cock carousel and bone thousands of chads. There's no difference. It's the same group of people, just one of them are women who are pissed off at men and really, really angry about it, and the other is men who are pissed off at women and really, really angry about it. And they're a very small minority of the overall group, but they're loud and obnoxious enough that everybody has to listen to them. Not because they want to, but because they're just making so much noise. And the unnerving thing about that is, those angry feminists who had these crazy statements like all men are pigs, all men, what was it again? All men are rapists. I've actually heard that one. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Not all men are rapists, obviously. Nay malt. It's the nay malt argument. Oh my God, the level of ridiculousness, it's so stupid. But these statements, I've heard them. I was born in a different generation, completely different generation, but I've heard these statements. I've heard people saying these things. I've heard people believing this stuff. I mean, we can all go on YouTube and watch videos of angry feminists having meltdowns. They believe this stuff. These ideas haven't gone away. And it makes me wonder just what kind of ideas are going to be circulating around in another generation when all these angry, black-pilled, MGTOW, incel types, obviously not all MGTOW guys are like this, but the ones who are, and I have met them, they do exist. Boy, do they exist. What kind of a mark are they going to leave on the thinking patterns of our society? I can't see any of this garbage ever leaving anything good behind. And I mean, what do you do about it? You bring it out into the light, and you debate it, you argue it, you show it for the ridiculousness that it is, and you dismiss it in the only real way to dismiss such ideas, by clearly identifying them as being absolutely stupid. That's the only way you get rid of bad ideas. Otherwise, they just keep boiling around under the surface. So, lovely. I sometimes look at the future and wonder if we aren't headed toward the red pill is cancer stage of our country's existence, and I dread that outcome. And I see elements of it being possible. I like to think we're better than that. I am seeing more and more young men in their 20s and even teens who demonstrate all of the characteristics of nice guy syndrome. Not only have these young men been affected by all of the social dynamics listed above, even more grew up in single-parent families or were raised by nice guy fathers. As I write this, I expect that we are just beginning on our third generation of nice guys. Well, that's depressing. It's a self-perpetuating system. Nice guys create more nice guys who go on to create more nice guys, and it's unhealthy and depressing. Like really, really depressing. And I mean, I think we can all see it. Like that is, I think in many ways, that is the essence of the red pill. Somebody in the comments was telling me that Dr. Glover wrote this when, I don't know if you just say Glover or Dr. Glover. I don't know how to say it properly, so I'm probably just going to start saying Glover because I'm really bad at remembering who's a doctor and who's not, and also poorly educated and just clumsy in these sorts of things. So please forgive me if no disrespect is meant. I'm just going to say Glover from here on out. I think somebody in the comment section was telling me that when Glover wrote this, he had not actually encountered the red pill and red pill thought. That's something that happened afterward. And I think that's really cool because he has this very fresh take on things. And so he's approaching the same problems with this very unique mindset that hasn't been inundated with all these other ideas that are chewed over so much. And so it gives you just this slight change of perspective, and it kind of helps to identify things more clearly that way. I really love it. And you know, he's identified this problem, and that's what the red pill is. It's all of these men being taught to be nice guys. They're taught it in their schools when they have mostly almost all female teachers. And then they live this life surrounded by adult women who tell them what to do and how to act. And they grow up men, like guys like you. I think at this point, like 100% of my viewership is male. So you guys, you've been raised like from childhood being taught to live in this feminine crafted world. And so the red pill really is the point at which you realize that the world around you has been molded to female whims, and that you have been taught from a very, very young age, in all the way up through adulthood, to fit in and obey these feminine whims. And it's not healthy. It's not remotely healthy. It doesn't serve your best interests at all. It doesn't necessarily even serve women's best interests. Women are emotional creatures. They're not necessarily logical and reasoning. I'm pregnant. I know just how illogical and unreasonable women can be on a very, very deep and personal level right now. You guys have no idea. Mood swings are totally a thing. But, he's identified this problem, like men are being trained in this way that isn't necessarily natural or healthy. And then they're going out and they're teaching other men to conform to this unnatural, unhealthy mold that they've been shaped in. It's really kind of, it definitely doesn't speak well to the future. I don't want my own children being molded in this way. I don't want my children to have to find mates in a dating market where all the men around them, virtually all the men around them, have been molded in this way. It eliminates a sizable portion of the dating market from eligibility, and the ones that are left behind, well, what kind of a selection is there going to be? So it's bad for the women. It's bad for all our daughters. It's bad for all our sons. It's just bad. Luckily, he does propose a solution. The next 7 chapters presents a proven plan to show recovering nice guys the most effective ways to do something different. I love it when someone shows me a problem and then shows me the solution, like right away. It makes my life much easier. I don't have to go to bed like biting my nails and wondering, okay, well, what are we going to do about this horrible problem of this very destructive cycle that we're spiraling downward on? Like, I know that's the whole point of the book, but it is, it's very interesting that he's presented the problem in the way that he has, that it's a problem and it is growing. And he kind of presents it in such a way that you can kind of see how it's growing. So that's really cool. I'm very excited about this third chapter. I've enjoyed the book so far. This has been really fun. And it's, oh, this isn't the nicest thing for me to say, but it is definitely a better writing style than Mystery Method. So this is very refreshing for me. I appreciate everybody who recommended this. This has been very pleasant so far. So next week, we'll start on chapter 3, and I'll talk to you guys later. Those angry feminists who said all that angry stuff, okay, don't kill yourself. Bad kitty. No, 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 no. Bad kitty. He's a lovely cat, but he's not smart enough to understand that you can't eat tinfoil.